Welcome to another episode of I Take.
D.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Carla.
And here we are, episode 6. This is 20 years in the making. And so last time, if you remember, we had left off that we were engaged. We're getting ready to get married. Our family members were helping us. Everybody pitched in to make sure that our wedding was memorable. If you follow the timeline, we talked about how we met January of '02, started dating February of '02, we got engaged May of '02, and then October 5th of 2002, it was our wedding day. It was a Saturday, beautiful day, sunny, wonderful weather.
Yes.
The very next day was super cold, but we at least took advantage of beautiful weather. For groomsmen, we contacted the Marine Corps base in Plainville, and they didn't know me, but because I was a Marine, they had Marines kind of come out in our wedding, and they came in their full uniform. They let me borrow the swords that we know that are part of our uniform, all called NCO swords. So that was pretty cool. The wedding was at.
It was at the House of Restoration building, the old building. They were gracious enough to allow us rent the facilities at the time. Our church was really small and a really small location, so it was not ideal for a wedding. So they were gracious enough to rent us the space, and his dad and his aunt officiated the wedding. So that was really such a blessing, really special.
That really was. It was really cool. Alicia was very small. How old was Alicia?
She was 3.
Alicia was 3. She was supposed to be the flower girl.
Was supposed to be the flower girl.
She got a tantrum.
She did.
Like many 3-year-olds do.
Yes.
She didn't come down
No.
the aisle.
But I also was late for the wedding.
Oh yeah. So she was late. She doesn't remember it was about an hour late, but yeah. It was.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that late, but I knew I was definitely late.
It was late enough where the Marines that were coming out in the wedding were making fun of me and saying, "Hey, buddy, I think your bride left you in the altar." Yeah, so it was nerve-wracking, and at the end I found out that it wasn't even her fault. It was my mom's fault.
No, so I actually got dressed in his house, his parents' home, Richard, our uncle Richard, was our chauffeur. He was supposed to be driving me to the church, and we were waiting on my mother-in-law. So when he says, "Oh, we're ready to go," I'm ready to go. I'm dressed. I'm getting ready. She said, "Well, I'm not ready." I said, "Well, the bride can't be there before the mother-in-law, or you'll miss the wedding." So we actually had to wait on my mother-in-law to get dressed so that she can leave and be at the church before the bride.
My mother.
So that's the reason why I was late. I was trying to kill time for the sake of my mother-in-law to get to the church on time.
Yeah. Well, at least you showed up. And I wasn't left at the altar. And so then at the end, so, we go through the whole thing. We did the candles. The candles almost fell.
Yes.
With fire in them. And they were lit. So we went through that whole thing there.
When things don't go according to plan.
Yeah, our 3-year-old gave us a tantrum. She didn't want to come out.
Yes.
And then the Marines surprised my wife with a Marine wedding tradition that she was very surprised by. I knew all about it, but I didn't want to tell her. So you want to tell them what happened?
So we get married. We're walking down. People are greeting us.
Yeah,
with bubbles.
Outside, the rice and the bubbles and all that.
And he did share with me that they do this kind of.
They do the swords, like the bridge
the
where
bridge.
you could go under the swords. They all come out with their swords.
So I was like, "Oh, that's really nice. That's really," and that's so nice. So they did that. As soon as we step outside, so that we can walk through the swords. And we walk through that thing, and people are all excited and happy. And all of a sudden, as I'm heading towards the end of the last 2 Marines who are standing with the swords, I see the swords coming down, but I can see through the back of my head, my side eye, that as I'm walking, the Marines are,
bringing the
bringing
swords
the
down.
swords down. So I'm like, oh, that's normal, you know. No, normal is that I saw the last two Marines bringing the sword down, and one of them, I don't even remember. I don't know.
It was the one. It's supposed to be the one on your right hand side.
Okay, so he just took the sword and whoop,
Spanked her butt.
Spanked my butt. With the sword. I was like, whoa! I think there was a picture of me. Like,
There is a
whoa!
picture.
Like,
we're gonna put it in here. You'll get to see.
like, what just happened? Was that supposed to happen? So yeah, that was.
It was supposed to happen. I just kept that quiet, and it was a surprise to her because she's like, "You don't even know me, and you're spanking my butt with a sword." But that's actually a Marine Corps tradition. So, ladies, if you get married to a Marine and there's like groomsmen who are Marines and they have their swords, just be careful. At the end, the last Marine on your right hand side, his job is to make sure he spanks the butt.
I wish someone would have give me that heads
You
up.
had plenty of.
I would have put more cushion.
You had
underneath
plenty
the
of
dress.
cushion with that puffy dress. She had plenty of cushion.
Oh,
So then
sure.
we go through the whole thing. We go to the reception.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. The cake was beautiful. The atmosphere was beautiful. We had plenty of people, you know, who were very supportive. We had a great time.
Yes, we did.
And then after that, you know, because we really couldn't afford, and it was so fast, we couldn't afford like going on a week vacation or on a honeymoon. So technically, we had a 1-day honeymoon, a Sunday honeymoon. So when it was on Saturday, October 5th, October 6th, we one of my mom's co-workers gave us a 1-night stay at the Hilton Gardens in Windsor. Who knows? And we end up living close to it at the end. So we stayed there. We went to like Gillette Castle. We traveled. We went to like Seaport, Mystic. We just kind of stayed local. And then on Monday we were back at work.
Yeah, that's it. That was our wedding weekend.
Yeah, that was our wedding weekend.
And
so then
after that, we're just gonna fast forward.
Yeah, it's like it was just. I mean, as normal as you can get because, you know, we're young. We were 22, both 22, a 3-year-old. I'm learning how to be a husband and at the same time trying to learn how to be a father. So it was very challenging and difficult for me. But the other piece is that we were both learning how to live with each other.
That's right.
She was a very independent woman, which I love. And I was very independent myself. And then here we are getting married. And it wasn't too long after that, you know, arguments and disagreements really like kind of bubbled up.
Absolutely. I mean, there were many challenges. As newlyweds, as young as we were, having a child that he had to also learn how to raise and being a dad, being a husband, and me being a wife, right? It was difficult of living the independence for such a long time that, you know, we clashed.
Yeah.
Many, many, many times.
Yeah, it was so much that we just could not agree on. And instead of really hashing it out or just talking about it, we screamed about it.
We resolved
we
it.
Pout.
We screaming,
slammed
yelling.
doors.
Yes.
Plenty of times. The what?
Non-healthy.
Yeah, definitely not healthy ways.
Handling arguments.
If there's something you can learn from this is like, you know, even when you don't understand each other, you're just getting to know each other when you get married. Because, you know, while you're dating, I really say that you're just meeting the representative of that person. You don't really know that person. Once you really get serious about it, that's when you're like, oh, so you are pretty messy about this, or oh, you like to raise your voice, or and that's what we got to meet those ends of ourselves. Plenty of like, you know, moments where my clothes taken out the closet, like you're out of here, and I'll be like, well, fine, I leave. I don't even need to be in here. Because at one point we even share like there were moments where, you know, I moved in with her. It was her apartment, and so she was so independent that I started feeling like it wasn't my home. And unfortunately, we were so young and immature in the relationship that at times she would say to me like, well, then leave. I don't need you. And so, I mean, those were difficult moments in our relationship.
There were difficult moments because there's something you just say out of anger. You know, for me, it's like, hey, before you came, I was by myself. I had my own place. I was living fine. So, if you leave, it's not gonna be any different. You know? That's kind of what, out of anger, right? Out of being hurt. Those are the things that came out.
Yeah. But I wasn't innocent myself. Like there was plenty of stuff that I did. I was having like real anger issues. Coming out of the Marines with this whole like, and I really had a lot of anger issues. Slamming doors, screaming, and like storming out the house, and it was pretty bad.
Those are challenging moments of right after a wedding. Honeymoon can only last so long. And for us, we always say, and I think we always agreed on that, we didn't have a honeymoon period in our marriage.
No.
Early on, I'm saying early on. I think, I always say we're living our honeymoon period now. And that's,
it didn't start. Our relationship started very well. It was like the early on in our marriage that it was very, very rocky.
Yes.
The one thing that really helped us is that we promised to each other that we would never use the word separation or divorce. Like that was not part of our vocabulary. Even when she was like extremely upset at me, and I was extremely upset at her. We just never mentioned the word divorce.
Yeah, and that's something that we both had to agree on.
Yeah.
Because I come from a history of divorce in our family. And so for me, the D word is really easy to say, and really easy to kind of move forward with it. So it was something that we both had to agree. If we wanted to make our marriage successful, we had to agree that there was no way that we're going to choose to separate or divorce, because we were in this for the long run, until death do us part, regardless of how challenging things gotten, how difficult things get to maneuver, that we were going to come together and work together as a team to make it work.
Even if we had to, like, it was really about humbling ourselves, and it didn't matter who was at fault. It was really about like, look, let's just work things out, and we just knew that we couldn't like keep sweeping under the rug. Like we really had to hash things out and have intentional conversations, and some of them were like painful because you didn't want to have those conversations. We were like unwrapping things about each other that were ugly.
Yes.
And we needed to confront ourselves. And so it wasn't about her like saying you're this. Yes, we did get to that, but at the end when we really like talked about it, I needed to recognize things that, oh man, I didn't even know I have an attitude, or I have like, man, I really scream. Like what's going on? So that was it was very, very, very early on. And I'm not saying that we hashed it out in 1 year. Like that took
and
years.
I think, and that was a year in the making of our marriage. And I think, not to say that this got worse, but we went through a really difficult and challenging time, and after a year of being married, we found out in a year after being married that we were expecting our child. And as any couple, we were super excited about bringing a new child to our marriage, and it would have been Joel's first child, and so it was really exciting moment. So when I say that it was a challenging year after a year of trying to handle each other, work with each other, arguments, and being able to live with each other, we are expecting. And I think a little short after 8 weeks, we lose our baby. And I think that for me personally was really heartbroken, really devastating. Because here we are, young as we are, just learning to kind of work with each other and live with each other. Now we are expecting our first child in our marriage, and then we have a miscarriage. So that was a really difficult and challenging moment for us.
Yeah, I think what was even more, like what was very difficult, it was just seeing my wife, we're already dealing with a whole bunch of stuff, our attitudes, our little one, at that time, Leisha. And, oh, man, it was just like, how do I console someone? Like, she's the one who lost a child, and so how do I console her? How do I support her? How do I show her that I'm here for her? But internally, like I can tell she's like going through like this deep depression, and just a real, even today, like when we think about it,
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
It is difficult to talk about, but it's important to share with everyone who's watching us that not everything is perfect. Not everything in marriage is going to be perfect, but it's learning how to maneuver and work through those difficult times that I believe it makes us stronger. I can talk about it, but I can't go into a length of details about it because it still touch really deeply close to home of that miscarriage in our marriage. But it's important for us to talk about it, even though as difficult as it may be, because we just learned to rely on God.
Yeah,
And
110%.
110%. And we learned that we are not in control. And regardless of why it happened or why it didn't happen, it's just difficult to even talk about it. But I know he was really supportive. I couldn't cry in front of him. I cried every time I took a shower. That's about my only time that I could vent, because I wanted to show him and that I was strong, and my child, at that time, Alicia was so young, didn't understand. So imagine if she starts seeing mommy crying every time she sees her. So I had to really, really work with myself. But yeah, it was a challenging time. Really difficult to talk about, even to experience it right now. Sometimes we look at movies, watch movies, and
Well, there's a miscarriage.
and I just can't. I can't watch anymore, and because it still hurts, right? We will be lying for those who have experienced miscarriages, regardless of what the outcome was. You still suffer that loss, right? You grieve. That will be forever in your heart, and that child will forever have a place in our hearts. And we will always grieve that child, and but it made us stronger as a couple, as a husband and wife, even through those challenges, right? And we were young, we didn't know how to maneuver. I was angry at times, I was angry at him, but just reality, I was just angry, right? But yeah, that was really difficult after 1 year of being married.
Yeah.
Right. One of the biggest difficult things that early on that we went through.
Yeah. Well, our time is up. And, obviously today's conversation is not as funny, but it's important to share with you all in the 20 years in the making of our marriage that not everything was funny, not everything was fun, not everything was smile and giggles. We've had some very difficult, dark moments in our lives. And as we continue to share our story, as going very fast with it, you'll see that everything was not all laugh and giggles. You can follow us on.
I take D Ministry on Instagram, on Facebook. You can also follow us on TikTok, and on Twitter.
Yeah. So
and our YouTube channel. So subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can watch all our full episodes.
yeah, and subscribe, share with others if you believe that this could be of support to others who either may be going through something, and this could be of encouragement to them.
Yep.
Please, continue to watch. We will continue to post our videos.
And thank you for watching.
Yes, thank you very much. God bless you guys.